At first glance, it seemed like a fleeting moment of kindness shared between a child and an animal. Yet, as days turned into weeks, Jonathan observed this ritual with growing curiosity. And it wasn't until Jonathan decided to approach them that he understood the profound bond they shared, leaving him overwhelmed with emotion. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. One crisp morning, Jonathan decided to simply approach the boy. Walking up to them was like stepping into a private world, and the boy's weariness was written clearly on his face. "I see you here every day," Jonathan started, trying to sound as friendly as possible. The dog, sensing no threat, wagged its tail and pressed his nose into Jonathan's hand. The boy, whose name was Alex, didn't reveal much at first, but his guard dropped as Jonathan asked about the dog, as Alex had named his dog Shadow. Jonathan learned that Alex and Shadow were more than just friends, they were a team. "We solve mysteries," Alex said with a seriousness that belied his young age. Jonathan chuckled, thinking it a child's imaginative play, but Alex's next words caught him off guard. "We're working on a case right now." Curiosity piqued. Jonathan listened as Alex told him about a series of strange burglaries in their neighborhood. "What can you do about it?" though Jonathan asked. Alex's response was simple: "We watch. We listen." Shadow is very good at finding clues, intrigued and amused. Jonathan found himself drawn into their world, his skepticism slowly melting away. "Is this, do you want to help?" Alex asked, analyzing Jonathan with an expression that made him look much older than he was. The following day, Jonathan joined Alex and Shadow on their morning patrol. It felt strangely exciting, like stepping into a childhood adventure he never had. They moved through the park with purpose, Shadow leading the way with a clear sense of direction. Shadow stopped to sniff at a black bag, partially hidden under a bench as if discarded in haste or maybe forgotten. Jonathan felt a rush of adrenaline. Alex approached the bag cautiously, glancing around for the possible owner. With a nod from Alex, Jonathan knelt to open the bag. Inside was a small, beautifully carved wooden box. The sight of it sent a jolt through Jonathan. He recognized this box. It had been stolen from Mrs. Henderson's antique shop last week. The whole neighborhood had been buzzing with the news, especially since an item of such value rarely went missing in their town. The next few days were filled with patrolling the park and trying to find more clues. The little adventure took a serious turn when on one of their patrols through the park, Shadow stopped abruptly in front of an old, seemingly abandoned house. "This must be it," Alex said, a hint of triumph in his voice. Jonathan looked at the house, its windows dark, its facade unwelcoming. "This is where the burglars stay?" he asked, a mix of disbelief and concern in his voice. Alex nodded with certainty. They crouched behind a thick crowd. The silence of their stakeout was suddenly broken by the crunch of gravel underfoot. Footsteps approached and Shadow's ears twitched in response. A shadowy figure emerged, struggling with a bulky object in their arms. "That's one of them," Alex whispered, tension in his voice. The figure moved with a purpose, disappearing into the shadows on the other side of the house. Jonathan's mind raced. This was real. They were witnessing a crime in progress, and the reality of their situation was suddenly very stark. Jonathan's first instinct was to call the police right then and there, but Alex's grip on his arm was firm. "Not yet," he whispered urgently. "We need proof first." Jonathan nodded, understanding the logic but feeling the weight of responsibility. As the day wound down, Alex decided it was time to retreat. "Meet me here tomorrow," he said, a serious look on his face. Back at home, Jonathan was torn. He knew he should probably call the police, but he also didn't want to betray Alex's trust. If the day's events played over in his mind, what started as a curious observation in the park had led him here, to the heart of a potential crime ring. The seriousness of their mission hadn't changed, but in that moment, the absurdity of a grown man racing to meet a boy and his dog for a detective mission struck him fully. "We need to move," Alex said suddenly, glancing around the park. "Don't want anyone spotting us." They set off towards their secret destination, the morning sun casting long shadows as they moved stealthily through the park. Their destination was a treehouse, expertly hidden among the thick foliage of the park's oldest tree. Alex climbed up with ease, Shadow following with surprising agility. Settled in the treehouse, Jonathan watched as Shadow made himself comfortable, resting his head on Jonathan's lap. As they ate, Alex shared more about his life. His dad had been a detective, a real one, who had built this treehouse. "I want to be just like him," Alex said with determination. He explained that his father passed away, leaving behind a legacy Alex was eager to uphold. Jonathan promised to support Alex in any way he could. Alex knew they needed more solid evidence to present to the police, and Jonathan agreed. "We have to be smart and safe about this," Jonathan cautioned. "Let's go back to the abandoned house," Alex suggested. The stakeout began with Jonathan, Alex, and Shadow watching as the day stretched long and empty before them. The house remained still, its windows dark, its doors firmly shut. As shadows lengthened and the sun dipped below the horizon, the first hints of movement appeared. Hooded figures started to converge on the house, slipping through the fading light with a purpose that was both intriguing and unsettling. "I counted 9 men," Alex whispered, his voice barely a breath in the evening air. Jonathan frowned, his gaze fixed on the house. "I thought I saw 10, he replied, uncertainty coloring his tone. "Maybe I miscounted with the knowledge that there were 10 burglars." Jonathan and Alex watched the abandoned house intently, waiting for the last one to leave. As they trailed him, the burglar made several stops, each one at different houses, stores, and buildings throughout the town. Jonathan and Alex kept a safe distance, noting each location and trying to decipher the burglar's motives. Was he scouting for new targets or checking on previous ones? The pattern of his movements raised more questions than answers. For hours, Jonathan and Alex tailed the man through twists and turns, until he veered into a driveway that made them both freeze. The house was familiar, too familiar. It belonged to a figure everyone in town knew, a city official reputed for his community service. The sight of him with a bag full of what they knew to be stolen goods left them stunned and reeling. Their investigation had led them to an unbelievable conclusion: the stolen items were connected to the home of a prominent city official. The gravity of their discovery weighed heavily on them. "We have to expose them." Not, Jonathan insisted, the resolve in his voice matching the determination in Alex's eyes. What they had uncovered was more than petty theft. It hinted at a deep-seated corruption within the city's walls. Not understanding the magnitude of their findings, Jonathan and Alex hatched a plan to bring the truth to light. They knew the risk involved in exposing a network of corruption that likely extended far beyond what they had imagined. Together, they gathered all their evidence, ready to shine a spotlight on the dishonesty that threatened the integrity of their community. With their compiled evidence in hand, Jonathan and Alex approached the police, their nerves taut with anticipation. The officers listened intently, and quickly, a plan was set in motion. Arrests were made, starting with the burglars and culminating in the apprehension of the city official himself. The wheels of justice began to turn, propelled by the courage and determination of 2 young investigators. The city official's plot was laid bare: a scheme to have valuable items stolen only to heroically recover them, aiming to secure the mayor's office with the public's gratitude. Instead, Jonathan and Alex emerged as the true heroes of the story, their brave actions earning them medals and the town's admiration for preventing a manipulative plan from corrupting the very heart of their community.